easiest level. Almost everyone who's played the game before beat it in a few attempts. It's just way too easy. So I decided to hyper buff it to the human limit, making Stereo Menace so hard that it will never be beaten by a single player. Using 1000 FPS frame perfects, extreme spam and other ridiculous methods that make passing it impossible for a human being. We're in the editor now at the iconic first jump. Let's just buff it slightly, we won't start off too crazy. And voila, a 1000 FPS frame perfect, meaning you have 1 millisecond to perfectly pass it without dying. I was able to jump over it after 42 attempts. That's just way too easy. Luckily on the right, we have a chance to redeem ourselves. Okay. Yeah, this is more like it. It looks like the same structure as before. Okay, maybe not, but technically the jump is still as difficult as the first one. However, we can add a green orb right in front of this jump. This orb makes the player switch gravity every time you hit it, so by adding one in front of this impossible jump, the jump becomes 10 times even more difficult, with you needing to both jump and release at the exact same time. Yeah, this is not possible for me. Alright, those were the first 2 basic jumps of the level. But we got some really interesting parts to still work with. This staircase, for example, looks very basic right now, but we can add a way to make it straight up impossible for the average human. The other day I found a guy that set a world record of clicking 21 times in 1 second, which people were absolutely stunned by. So let's make sure people who get to this part need to click 21 times per second on this new ultimate staircase I added. If you don't do enough, these spikes of doom will appear and kill you. Let me test if I'm able to beat the spam world record real quick. Ah, no. I mean, there's no way someone can pass this. Only with a super secret spam method, maybe. Oh my goodness. Anyway, we're now getting introduced to a bunch of platforms on the ground. I can think of a lot of different ways to make this interesting, but let's think outside the box for a sec. I think it would be fun to move the entire structure up, extend it just a teeny tiny bit, and make a giant gap inside the floor with some impossible wave gameplay. We can make the player click 20 times per second, make it tighter so you have to click 50 times per second, or make it very impossible with you needing to click 1000 times per second by adding small obstacles inside this part that makes the gameplay look like this. At the end, let's add another cube portal so we can actually get out of the structure. And there we go. We now created a 3-second part that's harder than all verified levels in the game combined. Next up, another staircase above dangerous ground. Full once, and you're impaled by spikes. I know the perfect way to make this ridiculously hard. First, let's add some spikes on the staircase, making you unable to go via the top route. So how would you ever pass this waboo? You can't randomly make the cube able to fly. Well, that's what we have these blue orbs for, which make you switch gravity right away. So by adding them below each structure, you can technically pass this part if you move the blocks around a little. The timings are a lot harder, but still relatively easy compared to some things I added before. So let's do our thing again and hyper buff this part. Yeah. This is insane. There's absolutely zero room for error with everything being frame perfect. But let's switch it up a little. My creating skills suck, so let's hire a professional creator to build for us. Live check. Do you see this part?
Yes.
Good. Turn it into the most insane structure I've ever seen and make it as hard as possible.
I got you.
I'll be back in 10 hours. Alright, I'm back. Holy, what is this?
Alright, first I added blue orbs that are impossible spam, followed by a frame perfect and some more impossible spam. I added some frame perfect mini cube jumps, and then I added a super tight ball part with a couple timings. That's it.
Okay. Thank you, but back to continuing to buff the level even further. I feel like these next 2 structures are perfect to turn into some adorable looking monsters that look like they won't hurt a fly. Dang, that somehow fits in perfectly. At first I thought it would be fun if it looked really easy to pass, which it is. I mean, passing the jumps isn't a problem, but I can also be evil by adding a few triggers to this monster, so we can just make a few sharp teeth come out of his mouth. Let's call these boys Bob and Billy. It took me 3 tries to get past them, which is too easy and in comparison with the rest of the level. Come on now. But luckily, there's one trigger in the game that changes this. The random trigger. This can randomize things happening or not happening in Geometry Dash. For example, by using this trigger on a spike and setting the chances to 50%, there's a 50% chance the spike moves to the left or to the right. It can basically randomize everything, just like Bob and Billy over here. The names sound a little British, so let's use 20 of these triggers for all their 20 spike teeth, with all 20 of them having a 50% chance of dropping down, killing the player instantly. With even just 1 out of the 20 spikes falling down, the chance of you passing this part without dying is 0.0001%. That's insane. Insane. Now, we can do the same thing for the next part, which normally is just a regular very long staircase for which you need to hold. But that's boring. Oh my goodness. So far, we've impossible above 30% of the whole level, and only now we're about to enter a new game mode. The ship. Before being able to enter it though, let's quickly transform this simple corridor in which you can normally take rest into the Corridor of Doom. So most things we've done so far is just adding spikes and making you need to click a bazillion times per second. But that's starting to bore me. I'd like to find a way to make the ship harder before we even start buffing the ship gameplay. First, I want to make sure that the normal way can't be used. So let's make the ship portal a little spikier. Now there's obviously no way to even pass it, which works perfectly, so I can freely focus on the secret way I was planning on adding, leading to this custom-made special portal. This portal makes it so every 5 seconds there's a chance to turn into a random game mode for a split second, which is just enough time to make you very confused and potentially die to a difficult part. In the original ship part, that's not an issue, since look at how much space there is. You can go anywhere. But in the buffed version of it I'm about to make, however, oh boy. Let's first test if I can pass a normal level like this. Great, I love it. Also, if I have 300k subs this year, I'll change my profile picture to a blobfish, so make sure to slap that subscribe button. Now, we just need to design a cool portal for it. What do we think of this sexy design, boys? Okay, now it's time to focus on the ship part. How could I possibly buff this and make it as evil, horrible and as annoying as possible to play? I mean, at the start there's literally almost nothing going on in the first place. So, what do I do? Wait, I have a perfect idea. Let's go to ChatGPT and look up 3 impossible math questions that result in a large number. Oh, we got a number with... wait, how many numbers is this? Anyways, we currently do have the most impossible math test ever created in GD. And don't worry, I'll be kind and make it multiple choice. You can go inside one of 4 corridors and choose any answer you think is correct. Just beware that you do need to do some impossible wave spam after choosing your answer. And if you think you can just try each answer until you get the correct one, I made the top creator that is building parts in this level figure out a way to make sure you need to pass these 3 impossible math questions in one single attempt. Or you'll die to this giant spike wall that pops up if you cheat. Fun! Let's see what one of my friends think of this part and if they can even pass a single question. To make it easier for them, I allowed them to use speed hack.
All right, here we go. What is 90 to the power of 90? All right. What are my options? I'm sure I can... You think I'm a mathematician like that? I'm not Einstein! All right, I'm gonna go with the middle one. I can't even do it, bro. Hold on. Like, bro, even at 0.5 speed, I can't do it. I guess this one. Waboo, that's not possible to do, bro. Lock me in. Okay.
Let's not get distracted and buff the part before the cube section though. Since we've not really done any ship gameplay inside a literal ship part, let's use this final corridor to our advantage. And I don't even need to use any spikes to make this impossible. Let me explain how. In the original version of Stereo Madness, the furthest possible way to die is against the wall at 97%. Or so it seems like. If you fly perfectly straight towards a block, you can clip through it and literally fly inside it to be able to die at 98% if you even move a pixel too low. So all that's needed to make this corridor impossible is just moving this structure at the top down. I'm using speed tags now to see if it's